All right, everybody, welcome to this collaboration. As you know, I'm Victor, Homegrown Big, and this is
Gizia Grayson.
And we met during the 30 Bananas Day, and we were both members of 30 Bananas a Day, and we were both fruitarian, and then high-starch vegan, and then you give us a little bit of background about your story and where you're at now?
Yeah, so like a lot of people, just stumbled upon 30 Bananas a Day and During Rider's YouTube channel and some other raw food 80-10-10 teachers on YouTube, and just tried the diet out and doing fitness, and it was working for a little while, and just started to notice over time some issues. But that was about 4 years ago. Got into the vegetarian lifestyle, then started moving towards vegan, and then moving towards a raw till forward type of lifestyle mostly, and then trying to be all 100% raw, because at the time that's what people were recommending. I don't think a lot of them recommend that anymore. So I was doing that for a couple of years.
I was on 30 Bananas starting around end of 2010, beginning of 2011. When did you get into?
You were
a little bit before you?
Yeah, a couple years after you.
Okay.
So around, I was around 2012.
Okay, gotcha.
When people are actually using that site.
Yeah. Yeah. So today we're going to do a video just on what are red flags that your vegan diet, or I think a lot of the things that we're listing could be applied to any diet, but for us, were red flags that our vegan diet wasn't working for us, and we were making excuses in our head, and we were making excuses to other people, and we were maybe not seeing some of the red flags at the time. So we're doing a retrospective video on red flags for other people to hear now and maybe help out others preemptively before they start having issues. Let's start on this list. My first bullet point was exercising and not progressing.
Yep.
So anytime you do progressive loading on any kind of training, you should progress. And my experience was in my first year to 18 months that I did pretty well. But that it was more around month 14, I just wasn't progressing. And then around year 2, I started lifting, and I had very, very slow progression. And now I've been back lifting for like 3 to 4 months, and my gains are just coming. Did you have any issues with exercising and not progressing in the way that you anticipated or expected, or even your training partners did?
Absolutely. Well, I've always been an active person, and before I got into this lifestyle, I was in the gym, I was lifting, but after being into this fruit-based lifestyle, obviously there's mostly runners in that community, and I was focused on more of the running and not really doing so much lifting, and I didn't really have any desire to lift anymore, so I wasn't really in the gym even noticing progress. I don't think I was noticing any kind of physical progress in terms of making gains or hitting PRs or anything like that, or personal bests exercises. So
you trained judo. Were you doing judo during this time?
I wasn't at the time. No, I didn't even have the desire or the capability, I feel like, to go train in that. I just wanted to run. Didn't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was, but just living that lifestyle, you don't really have much of a desire, it feels like, to do anything else but run, in my experience.
Yeah. Next bullet point that I have, which is exercising at least 3 times a week and not maintaining body composition.
I see a lot of that in the community. I mean, you can look at anyone who's eating fully raw or a high raw diet, you can see them doing a lot of workouts, and they might be making some progress, a little bit of progress in the gym, but their bodies almost look the same, especially with fruitarians who, if they do any lifting, which is rare in that community.
Yeah. I had the experience of exercising and exercising and exercising and not maintaining my body composition. So
right.
I would just get like a little softer and a little softer and a little softer, and up until that point I had always exercised and found it very easy to maintain abs and just have a good body composition. And as I went on in veganism, when I first went fruitarian, I got very lean, like most people do.
Right.
But then, at that about 14 to 16 month mark, it started heading in the other direction. So it would just slowly creep up over time, and by the time I was at the end of 5 years vegan, like I had some pretty serious chunk. I had like love handles. I had gone up to barely squeezing into a size 34-inch waist, and all my life up until then, and like to 34, I had been like, around 30 or 31-inch waist, always lean. And it surprised me that I was suddenly jumping up. And I was eating, even when I went off of raw, I was eating a whole foods vegan diet. I grow a lot of my own food. And I was still having issues with maintaining proper body composition with exercising and maintaining a strong exercise regimen. So, and I see that in a lot of people online, and other people I know have similar issues. Did you have a problem maintaining your body composition?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I feel like almost, again, I wasn't lifting at the time, but later on, towards the end of my vegan journey, as I was eating more cooked vegan foods and kind of ditching the fruitarian ideals, I was lifting a lot more and doing more calisthenics. I did notice I was getting very lean and getting a little bit of muscle mass, but again, I found it very hard to keep on muscle. And even eating enough calories, upwards of over almost 3,000 a day when I was really active, about 3,000 calories a day. And again, eating a whole food, plant-based diet myself. I felt very lean, very chiseled, but had trouble putting on muscle, and my body almost felt like it was eating away at itself, even though I was eating enough calories and eating enough plant fats, like overt fats, like avocado and coconut and nuts and seeds and stuff. But that is a common thing I've noticed as well, is especially in the fruitarian community, a lot of people who are skinny fat, even the small minority of people in that 80-10-10 community who are lifting weights, because I think it is mostly dominated by runners. The ones who are lifting weights, still, again, you don't really see much change in their bodies. They can maybe put up a little bit more weight than they did a few weeks ago, but their physique looks almost the same. And I think that skinny fat look is all too common in that 80-10-10 community as well as vegan community.
Yeah, I think it can go either way. I think you see a lot of people who waste and they don't maintain their body composition by they kind of have wasting away, and then or the other side, kind of just getting soft. And I think from my perspective, the people that I see that do really well, and there are a few that do, tend to be taking in supplementation, and that's a long conversation. The next bullet point that I have is not sleeping well regularly, and you said you had issues with that.
I did.
Yeah. So what was that like for you?
Just inconsistent sleep and waking up a lot in the middle of the night and just not being able to calm down enough. Again, that goes back to the mental health issues of maybe not having enough cholesterol in the body for proper brain function and being able to stay calm. Obviously, that we can post the studies here if the studies done on young men where they're not consuming enough dietary cholesterol and they're having a lot of issues with anxiety. So that carries on into sleep.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're experiencing some anxiety, you're not going to be able to sleep very well.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to wake up all the time in the night to have to pee because you're eating such high water content food. So, especially on raw, I would wake up at least 3 times a night to pee, and that's taking you out of your sleep cycle,
Right.
which is something I never thought about. And like, if you like get on 30 bananas a day, that they're like, well, just keep a bottle next to your bed. Like, I don't want to pee in a bottle next to my bed. That's why I have a bathroom. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it never occurred to me at the time, but I look back at it now and I look at how I sleep now, and I sleep very deeply, very restfully, and it's rare that I have to get up in the middle of a sleep cycle to go to the bathroom. I normally sleep 7 to 8 hours and then get up. It's very restful, it's very deep. Yeah.
You're still fully hydrated though?
Yeah, I mean, I normally wake up and drink a glass of water, but it's not, you know. In fact, I drink a lot less water now than I did when I was eating all the sugary fruits, and I feel more hydrated.
Same here. Same thing I've noticed. I've heard countless stories from other people who were eating an 80-10-10 diet as well. They couldn't even hold in their urine when they had to go to the bathroom. When they were, let's say, in the car, on the road, or at work, they couldn't even wait till they got to the bathroom. Sometimes they would pee their pants.
What?
Yeah. But that's another thing in the night, going to urinating a lot. I know some people say that's a sign of being hydrated. But if you're getting up almost 10 times in the night to go pee, that might be an issue. Maybe you're too low. I think there's issues we can touch on later, but maybe too low in sodium, because obviously those people, 80-10-10 people, eat a very low sodium diet.
Yeah.
Not enough sodium in the diet. So I experienced the same thing. I had to drink lots of water, almost to counteract all that sugar that I was consuming from the fruits.
All right. Moving on, the next thing that I have is feeling flat, like the world is 2D and far away.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like that?
Many times. That's one of the reasons why I left that vegan lifestyle, as well as, obviously it was way worse trying to eat a raw food, 80-10-10 diet and lifestyle. You really feel distant from just everyone. I mean, your family, your friends. You don't even want to... I mean, my experience was I almost didn't even want to go outside, and I'm someone who loves the outdoors. I love to be out in the sun and work out outside nowadays and hang out, be social, but eating an 80-10-10 diet, you just want to close yourself off and almost become what's called an agoraphobe of some sort, or just... You can't relate to anybody. I mean, you just... It's weird. It's... It does something to your brain, man. You just kind of become an alien.
So it's isolating, too.
I don't think it's isolating only because the diet is so damn restrictive itself that you can't... It's hard to be around anyone who's not eating that way. It's not only isolating in that way, but it's isolating in that it's... Your mind is just... Your brain is not functioning properly. And you're just not able to process interacting with other people in a sense. You just don't even want to deal with other people. And you probably heard plenty of stories about that. I mean, just look at the Woodstock Fruit Festival or something like that, where there's people who claim to be eating all raw for a long period of time. They're just space cadets, some of them. I mean, and I've heard plenty of people saying they've encountered with some of those Woodstock Fruit Festival pioneers who have been eating what they claim that they've been eating raw food diet for, you know, a long time, maybe a decade or two, and a strict raw food diet, a strict maybe 80-10-10, 100% raw diet. A lot of people who experienced it interacting with those pioneers and online health gurus, and in your own personal experience, and from what I can say, a lot of them are space cadets, and they almost don't even want to be bothered.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's just like, I feel like some of those people may tell themselves that it's because they're on a spiritual ascension of some sort, and they don't recognize that they've lost dynamic vitality.
That's another red flag right there, is covering it up as spirituality. You know, using it as an excuse.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that that's for sure.
And again, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name any names here, but you can just look up any of these raw food health educators on YouTube who claim to have been doing this for a long time. And you can look at their recent videos and see how different that they are now compared to maybe when they started their channel.
Oh, yeah.
8 years back. I mean, now that they're far into it, you can see that some of them are just very irritable and not, again, yeah, they're very distant and isolated. And you can look at them almost like, hey, I hope they're doing okay. They seem emotionally very unstable.
Sure, yeah. That's actually something that I've done a number of times, where I go to someone's YouTube channel and go to the oldest video, and you look at their oldest videos when they're just starting and compare them to their new ones, and wow. I mean, you can see the decline. Like, you'll go from a person who just started who's like, blah, 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 and then, like, a few years later, they're like, hey, guys.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, really weird. And I've actually heard people slurring, like, from a lack of B12, like, starting to have neurological issues. That's like a whole other conversation. But
yes.
My experience with that was that I went through a period where I felt so flat, and I don't know how else to describe it other than it was a loss of vital life, that I would just like struggle to get through the day. It wasn't that I was unhappy or anything. I just felt like blah, like not excited about anything. People would talk to me and I was like, yeah, that's cool. And I didn't have any like zest for life. And there was a part of me that thought that it was like I was just stressed out, or I was just tired, or, you know, you start telling yourself all of these things. But I look back now and I have a very high stress job. There's times when I have to not sleep because of my job, and I still have a real lust for life. It's come back to me. Like, I'm excited about things. I love doing the things that I do. I love my life. I love hanging out with people. I love getting out and doing things. And I have that vital energy back. And it's only in regaining that vital energy did I realize how bad it had gotten. And I think for anybody who's listening to this, if you are feeling very detached, very flat, not wanting to engage with people, and not excited about things, you know, or, you know, conversely, really worried about stuff, you might want to think about that and do some reflection there. When these three things can go together, it's regular gas, bloated belly, and painful digestion. So those are three bullet points. And I put in with painful digestion watermelon belly.
Yeah.
So that's a common complaint amongst raw foodists and vegans, and it's something that I no longer experience. And I can eat a whole watermelon now, and I have perfectly fine digestion. But when I was a vegan, yeah, I'm fine now. But when I was vegan, I would get that really intense, painful, what they call watermelon belly. And
we get that too.
Yeah, commonly discussed on raw food forums, and then there's all sorts of like things like, well, you need to, you know, supplement with X, Y, or Z to be able to digest that. Look, if you can't digest something as simple as watermelon, there's probably something going on with your digestion or with your whole health physiology. That's a little bit isolated, but I would say like regular gas, bloated belly, or painful digestion. Do you want to reflect on those?
Yeah, again, it goes back to what I mentioned before, eating such a high volume of fiber that you're bound to have gas. I mean, I think we've all experienced that, just poor digestion and bloating and gas from eating such a high fiber diet. I mean, of course, I think a lot of people would agree it's important to have fiber, enough dietary plant fiber, so that you're having regular bowel movements and so that you're not constipated. But then there's the other side where you're eating so much damn fiber that you're just, bloated all the time and having issues with gas and, like you said, not even able to digest the simplest of foods like watermelon. I haven't really tried to eat an entire watermelon since I left that 80-10-10 journey, but I haven't experienced those issues really of so much bloating and eating so much fiber because I don't have to stuff myself with such a high volume of plants just to survive.
Yeah.
It's a more balanced diet now where you can still get enough calories, but from a smaller volume of food intake.
Yeah. Well, I think that there can be issues too with people producing enough stomach acid, because stomach acid is really a very costly chemical happening in the body. And if your body's not functioning at a high level, digestion is one of the, other than mental things, you start to see different things break down and not be 100% healthy in the body. And digestion really takes up a lot of resources in our body. And if your digestion's not working well, there's a good chance, regardless of the diet that you're on, that you are probably not eating a diet that is supporting healthy digestion.
Right.
So for me, I would have really intense stomach pains eating high fruit with certain fruits, and that was kind of a red flag for me. And then I moved into a whole foods, high carb, vegan diet, and I don't digest legumes very well, and some people just don't. And but you want to get your daily dozen, as Dr. Greger says, and one of the daily dozens are you got to get your beans in there. And if you're not eating your beans, then you're going to have to do meat analogs, because you got to get your nutrition. And I would really and I know that I've experienced this around other vegans as well, not have good digestion. And I know how to, let's just say right now, I know how to cook to ensure that beans don't have the gas producing thing. This is just my digestion and my capacity to process this food would have not bad gas, foul. And a lot of vegans I've been around have had very, very foul gas. It's more than just fiber. It's something else is going on there, and it's not humans probably should pass gas normally right before a bowel movement. That's really common as, things are starting to exit the body and move down there. I'm talking about all day long bad gas. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that too around the vegan community. Digestion issues and issues with gas. Again, eating such a high fiber diet, but also you touched on the beans and legumes, especially for vegan athletes or just vegans in general who want to maintain a healthy, whole, plant-based diet. You'll notice that a lot of them are eating a lot of beans to satisfy that protein, to meet their protein needs. And again, especially with the athletes, they're eating, a really high amount of beans, and like we said earlier, eating fake meats. What are those made out of? Usually made out of soy. So they're eating such a high amount, probably a very unhealthy and unnecessary amount of beans and legumes to meet their nutritional needs.
Yeah, yeah.
For
Some vegan
for things like
bodybuilders
protein.
do bean smoothies, like a whole can of beans.
Yeah. I was just thinking that vegan bodybuilder,
I tried that once.
who puts. Yeah.
It was so
I mean, I couldn't imagine what it's like to be around him all day. It must be foul.
Yeah, I mean, maybe some people handle it better. You know, there's places where beans are more of a staple. Those people might have genetic variations that make them better able to handle that. That's not me. Now, I don't have any issues with that at all. My digestion is so nice now. So think about those. If you are not having good digestion, I don't care what diet you're on, that's a red flag. Okay, forcing oneself to eat certain foods or certain amounts of calories. Now, this is kind of ambiguous, but I would say, like, if you have to constantly plug your food into chronometer to make sure you're getting enough of this nutrient or that nutrient, that's to me a red flag. You should be able to eat a diet, a good varied whole food diet, and not even have to worry about that. You should just have comprehensive full spectrum nutrition. Do you care to reflect on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost obsessive in a way, just making sure your every little macronutrient and micronutrient is met with a computer program, which some people like raw food teachers on YouTube, they recommend that. To do that every day, every meal.
Yeah, it is obsessive, and I think it shows that the diet that they're trying to promote actually doesn't work. I don't track anything now. I feel awesome. And I think when people start tracking, it's because something's not quite right. I think it's also a red flag when you have to start tracking that, like, oh, I must be missing something, you know, or I'm not getting enough calories.
Yeah. Let me run to the store and go get it so I can meet my needs today. And
let me add in 3 more pumpkin seeds.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do too many because it's going to be 11% fat, and that's not going to work, you know.
And also, there's probably a need for a lot of those people, myself included, when we were obsessive with chronometer, using that to prove to others, look, I'm getting enough protein, look, I'm getting enough B12.
Right.
I understand people are concerned. People are just concerned for your health, and they want to make sure that you're getting enough food. It is kind of funny that they only do that usually when you're vegan, but
yeah, and
it's kind of silly, but yeah, it's like you constantly have to prove them wrong. Like, it's almost like an intense, unhealthy obsession with proving others, I'm getting enough protein, I'm getting enough protein. See, I've got this computer program to prove it.
Yeah, it's defensive. It's a defensive action, and those computer programs don't show bioavailability or your capacity to absorb. So you might have 100% of the computer, but that doesn't mean that you're getting 100%. So that was a really good one. I like that.
I wanted to add one more thing on that, please.
Sure.
With the gurus, the health teachers, and the raw food, some of the raw food teachers on YouTube, the popular ones who a lot of people are following, they're telling people to overeat and use this chronometer or other programs just like chronometer, but telling people to use chronometer to not only meet their nutritional needs, but also eat even if they're not hungry at all, just to meet those little numbers on the computer, to meet those micronutrient and macronutrient needs, to make sure they're meeting their 2,500 a day minimum, or whatever their caloric goals are. They're being told by these health teachers and these leaders to overeat, even if there's no desire to consume anything, just to meet those little needs.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So it's almost, it's just weird.
Counterproductive.
That is a serious red flag. I don't think that that's healthy in any way. What other animal does that? I mean, if we want to use their logic when they're like, this is man's species diet, this is our most natural diet. Well, tell me what animal goes, okay, let me just plug this in, I'm going to make sure that I'm getting enough selenium for today. Like, that's ridiculous. You know, and then, like, your Brazil nuts, so you're some fruitarian that's living over in Southeast Asia, how are you going to get your Brazil nuts for your selenium? I mean, come on. It's absurd. Next one is bad blood work. So much could be said for that. I've done videos on it. I've had bad blood work. It's been everything from my thyroid hormone to vitamin D levels to cholesterol to iron. I recently just watched a video with Fully Raw Christina where they were going over her blood work. She had horrible iron levels, and the other two tests that went along with her iron levels were way out of range, and they just kind of like excused away why she had that kind of test value. And you know, there is an argument to be said that that blood work will not reflect entirely one's health, but I think if you're getting really abnormal blood work like your thyroid hormone levels, this is a very intense red flag, especially if it changes. So here's the thing that I would say. You had blood work before you went on XYZ diet, and it was decent, and then you went on XYZ diet, and it got out of range and bad. That's a good red flag. Yeah.
But I wanted to say, when people who get poor blood work results and instead saying, okay, I need to correct this, I need to take a supplement or maybe change my diet up instead, another red flag would be for those vegans who are defending it. If they have a low reading, let's say of B12, and they get really defensive and say, well, you know, 40% or whatever percentage of the U.S. is deficient in B12, as one study suggests, then that could be a red flag right there when you need to defend, you know, tooth and nail your diet when you got poor blood work yourself,
right?
Instead of focusing on the issue at hand, and still wanting to maintain that diet and being stuck in some dogma or dietary box. Yeah,
I've heard Doug Graham say that there is no blood test that could tell him something he doesn't know about his own health. Wow. Okay.
And a lot of people are following him and looking to him for health advice. So.
Oofta. And there's a couple of ones that we already touched on. I'm going to move into excusing symptoms as detox. That's a hot topic.
That could be a long one, yeah.
So I've seen this a lot on other YouTubers. I've talked to other vegans, and I have had people tell me this, although I really doubted it from the get-go. Things like getting sick more often, getting cold sores more often, general malaise when you are on a diet. And I've heard people say, like, oh, well, you are detoxing from all that dirtiness in your body. And, you know, unless you're morbidly obese and going through a really hyper-fast weight loss, that could definitely, I could see happening. But for someone like us, who have been lean and healthy our whole lives, going into a diet like this, your body, if it's healthy, is detoxing all of the time.
Right.
You do store some toxins in fats, so if you're burning off a lot of fat, there might be a little bit there, but I think that excusing symptoms of not feeling well or not feeling vital as detox is a huge red flag. You're not going to get your body so luminous and clean, that you were gonna, you know, become enlightened. Like,
Okay, yeah.
that's a strange belief system that lacks science backing it up.
Absolutely.
And so these two go together. The next one I have after that is regular fasting, over fasting, to try to rid oneself of detox symptoms or controlling weight gain. And go.
That's. I just want to add on to that, like with the fasting and over obsession with fasting, and always like constantly wanting to fast and being obsessed with detox and writing off maybe nutritional symptoms of nutritional deficiencies or issues with your diet as detox. I think there's a common trend in that vegan and raw vegan community of always trying to achieve a perfect state of health.
Yeah.
Always fasting, always cleansing, doing juice fasts, water fasts, which are great, but being obsessed with those and constantly doing them to the point where it's unhealthy on your mind, that you're always trying to achieve a perfect state of health, you know. And that's I think another red flag is, like you said, trying to find that perfection.
Yeah, and I've seen like people online who have been eating a purely raw vegan diet for years, who are like, I need to fast, I need to cleanse, I need to detox. Well, I mean, if you're eating the so-called perfect diet, what the hell are you detoxing from? Oh, chemtrails, or, you know, whatever. It's, our bodies are self-cleaning systems. You know, if you're eating a lot of junk food and drinking a lot of alcohol and smoking cigarettes, I could see that being a cause for some cleansing and detoxing. But if you're exercising and you're eating a whole food diet, you're obsessed. You have to understand that that is a red flag obsession.
Absolutely.
And I see people who do that all of the time get less healthy and less healthy. But more than anything that I've been seeing recently, and I'm getting a low battery thing here now, so after this I'm going to have to run to the other room. But I've seen more than anything that people use fasting and call it for detoxing, but what's happened is that they've gained some fat, and they're afraid that their perfect healthy image is going to go away, so they fast to get leaner so that they can sell the message of raw veganism, so they can sell the message of veganism, because otherwise, if they don't have that, what can they sell? And
so, yeah, that's getting into becoming an eating disorder at that point, where you're all yo-yoing, binging and fasting and binging and fasting. I mean, where there's never any balance at that point.
Yeah, and I do think that that's a good point that we can add in there, that fasting is a very nice way of saying starving yourself. And I think that there are people within, especially the raw vegan community, but also in the vegan community, who use that as a cover-up for abstaining from calories for the purpose of body image.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop right now. I'm going to run and grab my cord.